I remember this alleyway very vividly because it was one of the spots that was very much a refugee camp. It was very narrow and it was very crowded and dusty. And when they walked in, the dust flew up and they were screaming. And then I ran ahead of the procession to try to get the shape of the procession. It took more the form of a procession than before. It was more a mass of people in the open square. And then I walked backwards, and then the light hits the wall and it hits some shutters on the windows that's open. So it was just a few meters that the light and everything came together, but I had no idea when I was taking the picture. I could just hear myself. It's very often the case when I try to analyze moments myself. I don't think this could be a good picture. I hear the camera clicking. I'm clicking a lot now. Why am I clicking a lot? Oh, this could be a good picture. So the reaction comes before I think about it. So it happens a lot. That day started actually the night before in one sense, because we were sitting in a guest house. You're very close to the Shifa hospital, which is the main hospital in Gaza City. And with a friend of mine, his name is Paul Hansen, he works for a Norwegian paper. And his friend was a doctor, Mats Gilbert, who worked a lot as a volunteer in this hospital during the cast-lead operation in 2008 and 2009. The story he was telling us about the woman he had in his ward and several of her injured children after a rocket attack that totally destroyed their house and killed 2 young children and the woman's husband. And she was sedated because she had a bad head injury. And the next morning we went to Jabalia, to the local hospital in this refugee camp north of Gaza City. And there was a lot of people that were in the morgue, a lot of dead people. And families and friends came and got their dead ones. And part of that was a family with the 2 dead children and the father. So we decided to do that story, me and Eric Olson, the reporter at my paper. So we followed that, and they were walking and walking and walking. And it's always the same. I have, in my experience, the people take their beloved ones and they take them to the house for a private ceremony with the women, because they're not a part of this. And then they go to the mosque, and then they go to the burial ground. So we followed them. We walked for a long time, and I kept thinking, when do they arrive to the house? Then I realized it must be this family that the doctor, Mats Gilbert, talked about the night before, because they don't have a house to go to. There's no house. So I talked to my interpreter, Mohammed Omar, and he confirmed it. It was the Hijazi family, this family in this picture. It's a very dynamic region, and I really love to go down and meet the people in this area, because on all sides, there's not only, people sometimes say it's both sides. I don't say it's 2 sides, it's many different sides. And those sides shift, and they can shift from one week to another also, and over the years. But over the years, it's always a common denominator is that the innocent die. I mean, in any modern conflict, 80% or 90% of the victims are non-combatants. Like in this particular picture I took, I mean, there's 2 young boys and their father watching a Champions League game on football, and they're killed. It's so totally unnecessary. I mean, the powers players on all layers and all levels and all sides in this region, also globally, should feel ashamed when they see pictures like this, I think. Why did these children have to die? As a photographer, I mean, going to these types of situations, I'm there, I sometimes get asked the question, how do you deal with it? This thing is the last thing you do. There's so many more things that happens before you even take a picture. And also in saying that, the pictures that you don't take are also very important. That you might sit next to the person, you talk to them, you explain at length why you're there, and first and foremost, you know yourself why you are in this situation. And first and foremost, I'm there as a human being. I mean, if I could do anything to help, I would do that first. These people and their suffering, or whatever you're trying to depict, they're not there for your sake. They're not there to glorify your byline. And I also think if they feel that you're there from genuine interest, and you have respect for their reality, and more or less respect for the context they're living in, they can feel that. They can see that in you, and they can see how you approach their situation, and then you might get a contact. And then that will develop into doing this, getting a good picture or something like that. I was once criticized by an American photographer at a large paper, and she looked at my picture and said, you can't get too close to your subjects. And I said, I'm sorry, I have to differ. I think you have to get very close to your subjects. Otherwise, why are you there? I mean, that particular day when the Hijazi friends and family buried their three dead, I cried. I mean, I always cry. If I'm not moved, why am I there? When I first started in photojournalism, I was very young and I wanted to do I remember sitting, having a coffee meeting with my colleagues in Gothenburg on that paper. They were whining about the daily assignments. That's what we do. That's the everyday topic of the day. Because photographers, we are big whiners about everything because we feel like we are put upon, and which is in one part true, but also I think the whining has a self-reproducing effect. That's how we communicate with each other. So my colleagues were whining about something, this and that, or the assignments was not good enough. And I remember saying, but can't we just be grateful that we have the job we have and we get to do what we love to do? And I was 19 or 20, I think. And they looked upon me, and then they just continued the conversation, as I have said nothing. And I felt so stupid. But I still have that feeling inside of me. I'm very grateful to do what I do.